Software sales are really tough. There are more decision makers, longer sales cycles, and more change management involved in it. Today, I'm going to break down how to close a software sale step by step from day one. My name is Andrew Barbuto, author of Top Sales Producer, How to Crush Your Sales Quota, a step-by-step B2B sales book taking you from day one to close one, out now on Amazon. I personally have been selling software for the past 6 years, and it's very different from selling services. When you're going about starting to find new potential software clients, you need to look for companies that are slightly different from what you might have looked for if you're trying to sell services. So what you want to look for is look for those companies that have enough budget and resources to be able to onboard software. If it's like a 1 or 2 person company, they may not have the bandwidth to learn a new form of software, depending on what you're selling. Aside from that, you want to look at what their current tech stack looks like. So if they're using a tool which is duplicative of the one that you're selling, then it may not be super relevant to them, and therefore they may not be qualified for your software. When it comes to finding these potential customers, which could be good for your software, get a really strong understanding of who your ideal customer profile looks like. And one of the ways you can do that is by looking at your current existing customer base. What are the customers that are using your software today? What do they look like? Try to find some commonalities that you can then search for when you're researching for new potential customers. Then what you want to do is utilize all of your resources. So everything that's available online, their website, you can get a ton of information about their tech stack, their partners, case studies by reviewing their website. You can get some high-level information by going to LinkedIn or LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Typically, they'll have an overview of who they are, what their positioning is. From there, what you can do is just Google their name. See any recent articles that were posted about them, whether it be their CEO was mentioning in an article, or if they're a public company, then read their earnings reports. Search for those customers that look like your best potential customers. Look for those data points which go below the surface, go below just regular revenue, and look for those data points which indicate that this is a customer that your software can help. Spend all your time searching for those customers and targeting specifically the ones that make the most sense because they look like your existing customers. Once you've identified them, then you want to reach them across multiple channels. So you want to reach them on LinkedIn, you want to reach them on email, and you want to use your phone. And make sure that you have at least 7 touch points before you consider an outreach complete, because it typically takes at least 7 touch points to get a response from a cold prospect. All right, so now let's move on to once you've identified a customer, once you've actually set up time with them, how do you ensure that the meetings that you have are set up for success and they advance the deal? It all starts when you're pre-meeting research. So once you've set up a meeting, use those same resources that you were using to identify who fits the description of your ideal customer profile, but go even deeper. Look at all of the articles that were written about them. Go into ChatGPT and type in their name and see if there's any information you can find about their value proposition and how your software could be a good fit for them. Learn about their existing customer base. Try to find as much information as you possibly can, write all of it down. Anything that you can't find that you would need to determine if they're qualified or not, feel free to send them an email prior to your conversation with a list of questions where you could just simply say, hey, ahead of our conversation, I want to make sure that it's productive as possible. Would you be able to help answer these questions? If not, no worries, we'll hit them at the top of the call. If they do answer those questions, that is likely an indication that they're interested and they're more likely to be engaging during the conversation. So what you want to do in an initial meeting is your goal is really twofold. You want to secure their interest, rapport, and their confidence in you. And 2, you want to uncover the information that you'll need to determine if they are qualified for you to help them and how you could potentially help them. Try to get an understanding of what does their budget look like, what are their resources in terms of employees, what are those needs, how important are they, what are the root causes of them, what does their tech stack look like. Try to get an understanding of their business model, all of the information that you weren't able to find ahead of time to determine if they are qualified for your software and whether it fits as an important need. If it doesn't fit an important need, even if they have the budget and the resources, let's say they're using a competitive platform, then chances are the deal's not going to go anywhere. So have a list of questions ready to go that you need to ask to determine whether they're qualified and whether there's going to be an immediate opportunity as well as how you could potentially help them. Once you've determined that yes, they are qualified, yes, your solution can help them, and yes, there could potentially be an opportunity in the short term, that's when you want to present your solution And you do that by using their words. And so the way that you want to approach that is, let's say that they had mentioned using different platforms that are disconnected, and you ask them a question like, what do you think is the most time consuming part of your day-to-day? And they say it's probably compiling reports, manual reports. Dive a little deeper. What is that causing? What is a result of having to do manual reports? They may say something like it's causing some turnover, or it could end up leading to errors. Once you fully diagnose their situation, you determine that you can help, then all you want to do is repeat those words back to them in a way where you tailor your solution using their words. So using that same example, okay, you had mentioned that you are spending a lot of time compiling reports because you have disconnected platforms and it's resulting in turnover. Our platform would centralize all of those technologies into one, allow you to consolidate them, save time, and also save a lot of efforts when it comes to previously manual processes that are now automated. We have saved several similar companies a ton of time, and they've reduced turnover as a result of the reduction in manual work that our software saves for them. So if you can name drop a potential customer that's similar to them or that they may have heard of, that's even better. You want to use their words to present your solution so that it's tailored to their needs, and you want to support it with stories. So have as many stories as possible ready to give examples, to offer social proof, because you as a salesperson are seen as biased, but they are not. So to take a quick step back, how you want to structure your meeting is, first, you want to build some rapport, get to know them, some small talk. Then share any information that you were able to find about them. Maybe there was a commonality that you may have found. At a certain point, you used to work at a different company that they had worked at, or you have a coworker that worked at their company. Reference anything that could change you from a complete stranger to a potential salesperson that is worth talking to. Then you want to share some information that you found about them from your research. So say, hey, look, I was on your website and I noticed that you were using X, Y, and Z platforms. I wasn't able to find how you're using them. Are you using those in-house, or you're partnering with companies to use them? Then once you've established that you've done your research, you're more than just a random vendor, then what you want to do is establish an agenda. Say, hey, what I was hoping for us to do today, I want to see if this aligns with what you were hoping for. I was going to just ask a few questions that I wasn't able to find from my research, so that way we can determine the best way that we might be able to help. And then from there, I was going to tell you a bit about what we do, what makes us different, and why it matters, before talking about the different ways that we can help based on how we're helping similar customers. From there, if what we discuss sounds like it could be a good fit and it could be helpful, typically we will set up a demo as a next step. Does that sound good? Set that expectation right up front. Get them to say, yes, that works. Because what you'll do is, after you've presented tailored value using their words, then you'll simply reference that initial commitment that they made. Hey, it sounds like X, Y, and Z would be most valuable to you. Is that right? Great, so why don't we set up that follow-up demo that we talked about earlier so you can see the platform that we've been discussing for the past 30 minutes. How does your schedule look on Thursday? And then just pause. Wait for them to take out their calendar and set up time with you. Try to get that demo on the calendar right then and there before the meeting ends. Once you've gotten the demo on the calendar, then what you want to do is, if you're giving a product demo yourself, then it's simply more preparation. If you have a sales engineer who's going to be giving it for you, then you want to provide all of the information that you were able to collect in both stages of your research, both when you were doing prospecting and when you were doing a pre-meeting research, pre-meeting preparation, and all of the discovery details that you're able to find in that initial meeting, and make sure that you share it with the sales engineer. That's why it's so important that during your meeting, you're taking good notes and you transfer it immediately into your CRM, so that way you can simply copy and paste those notes directly to your sales engineer. They obviously weren't a part of the meeting, so they don't have all the information that you do. Make sure that they go into it as prepared as you would be if you were the one giving that demo. Now, having said that, I think it's important that even if you're not primarily responsible for giving demos, I think that every salesperson should be able to demo their own software. And the way that you do that is by regularly using it and doing mock product demos with your teammates. So I recommend doing that. Now, let's assume that you are giving the demo. How do you want to structure your demo? First, what you want to do is get whoever the champion is that set that demo up with you. If there's going to be multiple people on the line, aside from just them, then you want to try to get a pre-meeting demo preparation conversation with them. to get details from them about what they feel would be most valuable to present to their team. What this is doing is this is starting the transfer of ownership of your solution to them, and you're starting to collaborate with them. Nobody knows their business better than they do. You're not going to be able to sell their teammates better than they're able to understand their needs to be able to sell themselves. So what you want to do is try to extract information from them and say, hey, I want to make sure that this is as relevant as possible for them. Could you take 5 minutes out and just give me a little bit of background on who's going to be joining the call so that I can make sure that I focus on all of the most relevant points to them? And if they're not able to, then you simply send over a few questions that you want to have answered prior to the demo. All right, so let's say you're able to get some information from them that basically gave you some insight into what's going to be most interesting and valuable to them. What are your next steps? Your next step is, once you get on the demo, start out with an introduction if they've never spoken to you before, if they're not familiar with you. But the key is you don't want to be the one introducing yourself if you don't have to. So what I usually do is I'll give some context on the conversation that I had to date prior to this with their champion. I will say this is what they found valuable. I will use the information that I was able to gain from that champion in the pre-meeting preparation, say this is what I was thinking about covering, and then I will toss it over to my champion to see if they have anything to add and see if they'll be able to give a little bit of introduction on their end. The reason why you want to do this is because it allows you to build on their credibility. Again, it changes you from just a random stranger to somebody who's worth listening to, because the person that's introducing you is one of their colleagues. Hopefully it's their boss, in which case you'll have their attention. And so therefore you're able to be lended their credibility right up top, and they'll be more interested in what you're saying. How you want to structure your demos from there is, once you've said, okay, this is what I was planning on showing you guys today, does that align with what you want to see? They say yes, great. Walk through your product, a feature by feature. You want to basically treat it like a day in the life situation where you put yourself in their shoes and you go through each individual feature. You mention a feature, you show it to them, and you say, hey, you had mentioned you had this particular challenge. This is how this feature would solve for that challenge. What we've seen is that companies that have switched over from the way you've been doing it to using this platform saved a ton of time. Do you think that would save time for you as well? So start out with the challenge that they've told you about, show them the feature of how it would solve that challenge, tell them what the outcome is based on your experience, based on case studies, based on similar customers, then ask for their feedback of whether it would solve the challenge that they had told you about. Once they've confirmed, move on to the next one, right? Have all of your tabs open so that way you can seamlessly work through them. Plan ahead of time what you're gonna show them. You don't wanna show every little feature. This is not a training, it is a demo. You wanna show the highlight reel. Focus on the areas that you know are gonna be most interesting and valuable to them based on what you've learned. And go to those first to capture their attention, and always use stories to support it with similar clients and get their feedback, right? You should treat this as a collaborative thing. Go back and forth. Have a script ready that you want to say to each individual feature, the way you want to describe it, and the way that you know that would benefit them based on your learnings. And seamlessly work your way through each feature that you find that you think would be most valuable. Continue to get their feedback, and continue to get more information from them as you go to understand more than what you've previously learned. Try to use this opportunity to learn about their tech stack, any integration requirements, any change management required, what other decision makers and stakeholders will be impacted and therefore will need to see the platform as well. Many times when it comes to software, it involves different roles within the organization that need to sign off and will also be impacted by it. So some examples are a day-to-day user, a middle manager, somebody who oversees a team that typically is your champion, the economic buyer, who's often a VP if it's a large organization, or a C-level executive if it's a smaller organization, but also roles such as operations and finance, or HR, or IT, depending on what you're selling. So make sure that you include as many people as possible. When you're on that initial demo, uncover that information. Say, hey, who else would need to see this before we're able to move forward? Say, great, would you mind if we set up a follow-up demo with them so they could see it as well? You always want to be in the driver's seat and you want to keep the ball moving forward. That usually means setting up multiple demos. If it's a larger sale with higher price points and that's going to impact somebody's processes, if they're going to need to move from a service model to a self-serve model, then that may require different pricing models depending on what you're selling. It requires dedicated budget. They may not have access to that budget. Try to uncover where would the budget come from, who would be the deciding factor on that budget. It may be somebody that is in procurement. So these are all the information that you want to uncover as you're going through your demo and building confidence in them by showing them a feature, explaining to them what the benefits would be based on what they've told you their challenges are, and then getting them to confirm that would be a impactful way to solve for that challenge. Then, as you're coming to a close, try to leave something exciting for the end that will leave a lasting impression for them. So Steve Jobs was famous for this. In his product demos, he would always leave one last thing that really left his audience wowed. You can use this technique to leave a lasting impression by knowing something is going to be very valuable to them, but not showing them until the end. So you do want to front load all the most valuable features, but then you do want to leave something at the end to leave a lasting impression. Before the meeting ends, try to get that follow-up. Whatever the follow-up may be, it may be pricing, depending on where you're at in the sales cycle, depending on how long your sales cycle is, what you're selling. It may be a proposal, a contract, or it may be a follow-up demo or a meeting, or it may be a technical conversation where you bring together your technical people with their technical people and you talk about how it would possibly work together with their existing tech stack. So you need to have a thorough understanding of your sales cycle, like the back of your hand, both your sales cycle and the buyer's buying processes, to understand how soon this opportunity is likely to come to fruition and what it's going to actually take to come to fruition. So that may be getting buy-in from other stakeholders. They may be a competitive analysis. If they're already considering other competitors, it may require a financial analysis if it's going to be impacting their financial situation. You need to show that it's a positive ROI. So whatever the next step is, make sure you try to get it before the meeting ends by simply asking for it and then being quiet. If it's a follow-up demo, say, hey, great, would you mind setting up that follow-up demo with me while you are on the phone? How does next week look for you? I want to make sure that we get in front of them. It seems like this is a pretty important need for you. Or you can use your own sales engineer's calendar and say, it fills up quickly. I would love to get that on the calendar before it fills up. Or if there's a holiday coming up, you say, hey, we'd love to get it on before the holiday. Try to create some urgency and get it on the calendar prior to. And that goes for whatever the next step is. So if the next step is an integrations conversation, try to get that scheduled. If it is a proposal, see if you can get the information that you need to put together pricing. But the key is when you do get that RFP information, that you always present pricing on a phone call with them. The more and more that you get them to invest in you, the more invested they're going to be in your offering. And therefore you want to consistently get their commitments. And that also gauges how important this is, how interested, how realistic is this? Is this a short-term opportunity? Is it a long-term opportunity? Or are they not qualified? Are they stringing you along? How engaged they are, how willing they are to give you their time and their efforts will help you determine whether it's a real opportunity or one that maybe will be in the future or maybe never happen at all. And knowing the difference is really important for your time management. Okay, let's say there's a situation where you weren't able to get that next demo on the calendar. Very common, right? What do you do in between? You want to provide value, but you want to provide tailored value. So what I mean by that is use all of your learnings. Take good notes, reference those notes, and provide value that you know would be interesting and helpful to them based on what you learned about them. So you can provide industry insights, vertical research, case studies. You can provide information that would give them FOMO. So if you know their competitors are doing this and they're benefiting by these financial benefits, make sure that you put that in and send that over to them. You want to both create value for them to show that you're a strategic resource in the meantime, but always have a CTA at the end. So try to get that next step on the calendar. Use the phone. If they said they were going to send over some RFP details and you haven't heard from them in a couple days, give them a call. And if they don't pick up, leave a message, follow up with an email. Anytime that the deal stalls, the less likely it's going to close. So it's important that you're always keeping that momentum going and you're always top of mind. And the way you do that is by using your touch points and showing that you're a valuable resource to them. All right, so let's say that you got to the point where you do get an RFP details. It's important that you thoroughly understand what their expectations are. And a lot of times that's not all going to be included in the RFP. If they send you a formal RFP, you want to understand more details, such as, are they considering other competitors? How quickly are they interested in moving forward? What's the key buying criteria for them? What are their expectations in terms of pricing? These are all details that are not necessarily available through the RFP. So what you want to do is if you get an RFP, pick up the phone, give them a call. Try to talk to them and say, listen, hey, I want to provide you with exactly what you're looking for. In order to do that, I'm curious if you could just answer a few questions for me, such as What are your expectations in terms of pricing? What are the key buying criteria that you will determine which partner you end up moving forward with here? Who else is going to be involved in this decision, and how bought in are they? Do they need some support in terms of me helping you pitch them? Who's the ultimate decision maker here? How many other people are you considering? How quickly are you looking to move forward? What are your previous pricing models that you've used? Do you have any expectations? Gather that information from them over the phone, or if they don't answer, then you can send them an email with those questions. But the point is that it's really important that you, before you present any sort of pricing, that you present it over the phone, so that way you can get their feedback to make sure that it aligns with their expectations. When you're providing pricing, present it as an investment, and the way you do that is by doing a financial analysis, if you can, by gathering key details from your prospects, such as their revenue numbers, their current costs, what you've seen other customers, what impact it's had, and apply it to them to show that this is what they can expect the result to be by onboarding your software. Then you could present pricing as an investment. If it's going to generate revenue, you want to present the full picture to them. And so try to get a financial analysis done by finding out the information that you need from them. A lot of times that's insider information that if they provide you, it's a very good sign. It means that they're serious. It means they're helping you sell them internally. That's the ultimate goal of this, is not necessarily to sell to your champion. With software sales, there's usually multiple decision makers, multiple stakeholders. And so you want to help your champion sell to all of the different stakeholders that are going to be involved in this decision. One example is a financial analysis. Another one could be a competitive analysis. You may have some insider information about other competitors they're considering. Offer that up. Say, would you want to see a competitive analysis? I could provide some details on how we compare to them. What are the key differences? You want to put yourself in the driver's seat. You do not want your competitors to be the ones that offer up that competitive analysis. And you don't want them to find it out on their own if they're talking to other competitors, right? Be a resource as much as possible. Show them what it would be like to work with you. Be as flexible as possible. And then finally, when you get to the end of the sales cycle, it should be a collaborative effort. You want to understand how invested are they? And the goal, again, is not to sell to your champion at this point. The goal should be for you to help them sell internally and them to help you sell internally. And so try to get as much information as you can to make it as seamless as possible. So getting details such as historical price model, expectations, make sure that your proposal and your contract are tailored to their needs, and let them know, hey, this is flexible. So I want to get your feedback so that way it could be tailored to exactly what you're looking for. Then you're working with them collaboratively. They ask for a discount, for example, then say, let me see what I could do about that. I have to run that up the ladder to my manager. Would you be able to help me out by letting me know if I can get a discount? Are you going to move forward? Otherwise, why would we be giving a discount? And don't ever give something without asking for something. So they ask for a discount, say, all right, no problem. Would you be able to give me an estimate of how much you expect to spend? That will help me sell internally. And the more you spend, the more we can discount for you. So if you're willing to commit to a higher upfront spend level, then we will be able to give you a lower upfront rate. Anything like that, terms and conditions, anything related to spends, anything that's going to be in your best interest, try to use it as a trade-off when they ask for something. Finally, once you've gotten verbal agreement on the rate, then you can send it over to them and offer to help be a resource to sell internally. Put all of the information that you're able to gather together in one place, so it's a very easy sale for them to make internally. So everything you're able to gather during the sales process to make a bulletproof case for them, make it very easy for them to sell to their boss, whoever is going to be signing the contract. Financial analysis, competitive analysis, details on what they were looking for, why they chose your solution, what the expected outcome will be. Put it all in one place, on one email, and then simply just ask for the business. Say, listen, we've been going back and forth for a while. I want to understand what exactly it will take to win your business and when you would like to move forward. You can use things like contract expiration dates to create urgency. You can do things like a test if you have a clear KPI and rollout plan, so that way it's set up for success and you feel good about it. But you could also bake that into the contract by saying there are out clauses that we will make sure that we reach out to you prior to moving forward if they're worried about committing to a long-term contract. And then finally, be there for them, whatever it takes to help get them over the finish line. Provide regular content research, show them what it would be like to work with you post-sale, and then you can create a closing timeline, which basically has steps at different dates that you would need to complete in order to go live by the time that they're hoping to go live. So it's important that you get those details about when they would like to go live with your partnership, why that is the date that they will want to go live, and then reference those. That's how you create urgency. And you really can just add value until the time is right. Continue to remind them the main reasons why they chose to work with you. What are the needs that you're going to be solving? What are the outcomes going to be? Continuously remind them of that throughout, regardless of how long it takes to get it over the finish line. Make sure that you're proactive internally if you need help from legal or if you need help with your manager or different operations teams. You have to be as collaborative as possible internally. Make sure that they know that you're flexible and you're easy to work with. Treat yourself as a teammate for them. And so if you set up enough qualified meetings, enough qualified demos, and you're continuously moving them forward, adding value to a large enough pool of prospects, always filling the pipeline, you will close software deals. There's a longer sales cycle, but just like any other sale, if you have a filled pipeline of qualified opportunities, some of them will close. So continue to stay on top of it. Do not give up. Do not count your chickens until they hatch. Make sure that they know they're confident in your solution by telling them all the post-sale support they will receive, and be there for them until the time is right. Don't be too pushy, but make sure they know the reason why they want to make this change and all of the things that they're missing out on by not making it sooner. I hope this was helpful. I include all of my best tips and tricks from my 10-year sales career. I've closed over $350 million in software and services deals in my book out now, Top Sales Pitch: How to Crush Your Sales Quota. You can check it out on Amazon. Submit your order number on my website, andrewbarbuto.com/top/sales/book, #bonus to get a free $20 workbook to apply all the lessons from the main book to your day job. Thanks so much for watching. Check out these videos if you want some more tips. And always remember, if you're not helping, you're not selling. Thanks.